Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Dr. Hisham Said. Um, uh, this doing this video lecture here about the topic, part of the Engineering Economics and Business class in Santa Clara University. So the class topic of this video lecture is organizational structures and their design. Uh, so what we're gonna cover in that lecture is first, what are the different types of organizational structures of construction and engineering companies, and that's not unique to construction and civil engineering only. It's a generic knowledge that you can apply to any company. But as the course here is for civil engineers and construction, so we'll see how construction is unique in that context. Uh, and then after you know the types of different organizational structures, now to operate different under these different structures, you need to have a good design uh, of policies, and how the structures are designed. So you know about how organizations are structured, and then you see how such structures are designed and managed through policies. So organizational structure here we mean is the way that the responsibilities are assigned within the company, and this is done after the type or the form of the business of that company is decided or selected. So if you're a proprietorship, corporation, LLC, um, that's a more like a first strategic decision is to say what type of company you are, and then how you're gonna structure it is the second one. So you allocate simply it's allocating responsibilities of the people working in the company and imagining how they would communicate between them so that each one will fulfill their own responsibilities. Uh, so here, when you say I will structure a company, uh, you need to decide about how the company would accomplish its mission through the individual responsibilities of its employees or staff. And then the second thing here is the work processes used to accomplish this mission, and then the authority is given uh, to each one of your staff members or employees uh, to do these processes to accomplish this mission. So we'll cover here three main types of organization structures: functional, divisional, and matrix. So starting with functional first. Uh, and one thing before moving to the next slide is the decision between which one to select or structure to apply to a company depends on different factors we'll see later. So functional structure is you divide or you organize or cluster your employees based on the departments or the functions that they do. So this is an example here. You have a president, and then you have these different functions within the company. So you have finances, HR, development, purchasing, uh, legal safety, and then the operations here. Uh, you have different people working under it. So it's mainly project manager, and then maybe you have superintendents. But you group the people based on their functions. Maybe you can say it based on their common expertise. So you have accounting, human resources, business development, supply chain and purchasing and procurement. So uh, every one of these departments now will have a head or manager. Uh, and such structure here is very common in small to mid-size companies. And we'll see for larger companies what would be the difference. But the basic characteristics here is you have this organizational breakdown based on function, like we said before. So, for example, superintendent here will be under the construction operation. Now you can say my superintendent would be managed or reporting to project managers. Or you can have a project executive, and then under the project executives would be PMs, project managers, superintendents, and maybe project engineers. So you maybe set more layers under each department or or function in your company here. Now these functions or departments are divided in terms of now accomplishing the mission of the company in two main types. So the line function and staff function. So the line function is the department that would contribute directly to the mission of the company. So if you're talking about construction company, then you're talking about the construction operations department, or maybe the estimating department. So they directly relate to the mission and the type of business that the company does. Staff function is the secondary departments that are not directly related to the mission of the company, but they would exist, you can say, in any type of company. So accounting, HR, marketing. So it's like a global skill that is needed in any company, and they're not, unless the company is a marketing company. That's a different say, but marketing is needed in all companies, and they will have like their own department or their own group in any company around, if it's to the size that justifies such department. So another thing unique about functional structure here is that the communication goes vertical. So cross communication between departments is fine. I mean, collaboration happen, communication happen, but commitment of the department to a department should be through the leader or the head of that department, right? So communication is informal between departments, but to make it formal and a commitment between departments or groups and groups, it should be done with the leaders and the heads of these groups. The bad thing maybe about it is now it's very hard to use this functional structure in bigger companies with multiple geographical locations that work in maybe having different offices. So now think about it. Now you have every department should have a leader or a manager. So this leader or manager would be in which office? So that would be the simple logic behind that limitation, mentioning it here. This is an example here, a networking company. So networking company here, we have the sales and marketing, you can say business development. You have the design company. You have the construction company, so they build whatever the design does. And then the operation and maintenance company. So for existing networks, they maintain it, update it, repair it. So you can say this company provides design, engineering, construction, and services, facility services, or maintenance. So these blue are, you can say, directly relates to the mission of the company. These orange ones are the ones that we call the support lines. So we mentioned before that you have you have a line function and staff function. So these are the line functions, and then these are the staff functions. Some maybe argue that sales and marketing is a staff function, so it should be like these orange ones. But I mean, maybe it is a unique marketing need for networking companies. So that's an example here of a functional structure. So moving to good and bad things about functional structures. So good things. First, it promotes specialization of your staff in terms of developing skills and getting or building up their expertise, which makes them more rigorous and uh, technically confident, you can say. And then the next thing here is it enhances the career development of your employee based on that. And then in that case, in that sense, use your human resources efficiently. So any project that needs marketing, you will have the marketing people ready to help you. They don't stay idle that much because they help in the different projects you have. It facilitates now the central decision making, which can be a good or maybe can be a bad thing in some way. We'll see. But central decision making is good in small companies, so everyone would know where to go to take the final decision. So that's a good thing. Uh, the last thing here, it enhances the potential for functional conflicts. There is conflicts, not all of them are bad. Conflicts that lead to innovation and critical thinking and collaboration, that's a good conflict. So function conflicts here, when you talk about design and construction, they two different functions, but they deliver the same product, and everyone will have their own needs. So people will design and not thinking about the constructability, and then that conflict happened. But if you use the conflict correctly, that will lead to a good collaboration. So construction feeds into design, and design feeds into construction. So these are the good things for functional. Bad things are bureaucracy. So parochial perspective here is that to commit to someone in the other department, you have to talk to your boss. So it prevents or limits the cross communication, commitments here, collaboration, and it's in some way here limits accountability because now a single project is done by multiple units or multiple departments. So who's the ultimate responsible person for that project? Uh, the construction people would complain that we did not have the design in time. The design people would claim that we did not have the site information in time. So, and it just everyone throws the burden and the mistake on the other department. So there's no clear accountability of in the functional structure of companies unless the central decision maker here would take that responsibility, which is very hard to manage for if you have many projects. So that's functional. Now moving to the divisional structure. So divisional here is in a way it's the natural evolution of a functional organization. So when they grow in a way that they move to more geographical locations or they cover different segments of the market, then you need divisional structure. So that's an example here of geography-based division. So you have here eastern states, western, and then maybe you have talking about international if you're international company, and then the market centric here is you're talking about paper construction, commercial, power plant construction, healthcare, residential. All these projects are unique and different from each other. The simplest reason is difference in building codes. So you have building codes would require different expertise of people to know how to deal with it. And each now division has its own functional departments or units. So if I talk about your geography based in the eastern states, every the office of in the eastern covering the eastern states will have their own construction operation people, accounting people, purchasing, bidding, and then the west will have the similar functions, and then so you get the idea. For the market based, the commercial construction will have their own people, accounting, purchasing. The power plants will have their own also functions. So you're repeating your skills over the different divisions. You're replicating it. So the PM, there will be like, in that case here, the market base, you will have three types of project managers. The people who focus on paper construction, commercial, and power plant. And they commit to each one of these divisions. So division, these are, like I said, in big companies. And that that's like you said, it's natural evolution from functional structures. The challenge here now is to make sure that the information flows between divisions. So that's a challenge because now each division is a company within a company. You can think of this way. They're already satisfied with their own groups and their own functional departments, so they don't need to share information. There is no incentive for them to share information because everyone they have their own resources. So, but that you can say that's the only or the best way to deal when you are growing as a company is to split into divisions because you're dealing with different, slightly different expertise from between the divisions here. So different markets require different skills. This is another example here of a real U.S. construction corporation. So they divide here by division, and you have here the construction services, residential development or real estate, commercial property development. So even the real estate they split residential and commercial, and then you have infrastructure development. So four complete different markets. Here they are simple builders. Here they are developers, and this is infrastructure developer, kind of a different development portfolio. So roads, airports, things like that. And then you see here there are these. You can still have these staff lines or support functions. So you have here the administrative things, the audit, accounting. So and you can see here that structure here represents, is it LLC? No, it's actually corporation. So you see shareholders appoint or like board of directors, and then you have the officers here. So that's a corporation. All right. So divisional, good things and bad things. So the good things about divisional is now the focus on products, customers, and markets. So that allows diversification of the company business portfolio. So we're covering different markets or different regions, and that improves the strategic control of your company. So if one of the markets go down, you still have other two markets to compensate for it. It recognizes the relationships between departments, and this is why you move departments and have every division have their own departments so they can work together to target a specific market or region. And because of that, you foster cohesion between departments, and you have one goal, which is beating the other divisions, you can say, or be the most successful region, or being the most source of most of the revenue for the company by making our market is the most contributor to the revenue. And because of that, you have accountability here. So the division head or the manager of the division will be responsible for all projects under him or her. And then that here minimizes also problems because of the sharing of resources. So if I'm heading the department of construction and there is one project that takes a lot of attention and of my people, then I have an issue here. Other projects would have other needs, but in the division, it's just we are one team. Construction is working with design, so these departments are more
cohesive, you can say. Now, these are the good things. The bad things about divisional structure, the first one is the inefficient use of resources. So if you have, let's say, residential construction and commercial, and then at some point of time, there is no many commercial projects, but you still have the construction people there, the design people there. Uh, Now, in downturns, you have the option of either firing them or keeping them until maybe the market picks up. So now you're making some of your resources idle and not efficiently used because you're making them specialized. So if that specialized market goes down, they're underutilized. So you're duplicating the resources. So construction people in the commercial will stay, while maybe the construction people in the residential will be busy. You can move them in between, but that would conflict the idea of divisional structure, pure divisional structure. The second limitation here is that the career advancement. So your staff or your people will be very focused on what they do. So they will be into commercial, but they will not know that much about residential. So they will not have this bigger experience that can move on. Maybe the career development for them will be not like someone who worked in different type of projects. That's a good thing that you can write it. That's when it shows up in the resume, that diverse experience can be a good thing. And the bad thing here is this competition or conflicts. So that's now is the bad conflict, that now these divisions are competing between each other and they don't have incentive to share information. So that leads to dysfunctional competition and conflict. So the last structure we're going to cover is the matrix structure. So matrix structure here is, instead of now of dominating your organization by either division or functional, you will have a mix of them. So you will have a decentralized kind of organization. So you will have multifunctional teams with functional chiefs. So we'll see that in this example here. So you have here the marketing, engineering, construction, administration. These are functions. And then you have divisions. Oops. So divisions. You have industrial, commercial, maybe you will have residential. Now, when you have a project, on an industrial construction project, you pull from the marketing, engineering, construction people to join as one team now. And then you'll have a project manager coming from the industrial division. So you can pull someone from the engineering who used to do commercial, but then you pull him or her now to do industrial. So that's we'll see what improvements you achieve here. But you form teams, multifunctional teams from different functions with chiefs or leaders from the divisions you have. Okay. So maybe that's actually a typo here, that you have multifunctional teams and divisional chiefs. So divisional leaders here. You have still managers like vice president of marketing, vice president of engineering, but you have, for the project, you have project managers. So you have the marketing staff here is reporting actually to two people. You're reporting to your project manager, and you're reporting to your marketing manager or the vice president here. So that's confusing, right? It's confusing. It's hard to manage such structure because you have teams coming from members coming from different functions or departments, and they come and work together in new projects, and they have different project manager. So you have here the issue of the dual authority. So manager of project groups and managers of some functional groups. Now they have these dual authority on the same person, right? We showed that in the previous slide in the example structure. Now you're sacrificing that the clarity and simplicity maybe of functional structure in return that you are flexible and agile. So you respond quickly to market changes and new project coming. You need to form team. So in divisional structure, you would say, no, I have more demand for residential, but I cannot. Let's keep the commercial guys alone. But here you just grab whatever human resource you have available and use in that project. So you assemble uh, multifunctional team and put them in a single team, and then they go ahead and work on the project. Matrix structures are actually not common on construction industry or in construction companies. They mainly more common on engineering companies. I personally have seen like a interesting case that a small mid-size, you can say, company. It specializes in serving chocolate making, companies or manufacturers. So the factories that make chocolate, and they deal with tanks. So you have mechanical people in the company. They deal with electrical systems, control systems. So you have electrical engineers, and they build it. So you have construction people. So and now it's a very interesting case. So these chocolate factories can only close maybe 2 weeks a year, and they have during these 2 weeks a year you have only a very short chance to shut down your operation and build whatever you need to build, like a new tank or new line. So very short time, and that most of the factories close at that time. So it's very intense, and now the idea is you grab that electrical engineer and throw him or her into these multiple projects, and this electrical engineer can actually lead a project. So it's very, because it's a small company, so they need to be flexible and agile. So that's an interesting case to see of you can say a matrix structure. Um, so to matrix structures, organizations evolve in stages. So first you have a temporary task force to address a particular issue or a project in its early phases, and then based on that you create a permanent team and appoint project manager to the team. So you don't grab people from the beginning. You just need to grab certain task force members and think about or try to realize that project more, and then after that you will have a permanent team with a project manager. So good things and bad things about the matrix organization here. Uh, First, now you make the knowledge available to all projects because you're using your resources flexibly here. It forces communication among managers. So the manager of the vision and manager of functions, they now talk because they have to. You're dealing with the same resource, so this person in the middle between them, uh, and it can the metric structure doesn't require big change because it based on divisional and functional. So wherever you are, you can simply change to be a metric structure by adapting its methodology here. So wherever you are divisional or functional, you can actually upgrade to a matrix structure. Bad things here is the dual reporting here is not an easy to manage and it's confusing. So that's a stress on the employees unless you have good training for them. And then the next thing would be that it will lead that because that they were reporting it leads to power struggle and dysfunctional competition and issues between your divisional and functional managers. So that's another example here. That's again a real engineering company in the U.S. And we said here before that matrix structure is not that common in construction, so most probably you'll see it in engineering companies. So they have here divisions: energy, the industry, and infrastructure. Industry, I assume that it may be oil and gas or manufacturing. Uh, and then you have support services and functional support. So you have here civil, mechanical, and then you have here the finance, accounting, and then whenever a project happen in the energy, they grab from civil, mechanical, electrical, and support and form a team. And that team will have a project manager from the energy division. Right? Once this project is done, everyone goes back to their departments. So after knowing now these three type of structures, functional, divisional, and matrix, which one to select? That selection is actually part of a bigger thing, which is the organizational design. So when you select a structure, you need to also make sure that the communication is formalized between them, and the authority and responsibility also. So in some way, when you select your structure, you're already thinking about the other three things: the communication between the people in that structure, the authority and responsibility of each one. So a good design, it's all about flow of information and seamless decision making. So you're not waiting for many people to reach a decision, but at the same time, you're sharing information between them. So data integration, everyone knows what happens in some way or would have access to the data when they need. And the authority and responsibility here are clearly assigned. So no one is guessing, is this mine or this is yours. So all these are some examples of things that need to be considered when you're designing organization for a company. So division of labor, how many people you can afford to hire, the workflow that you have depending on what mission you do, construction, engineering, authority, how much authority you want to put in one place or in one person, supervisory relates to that. So a lot of factors here. This is just a list enumerating over some of them. That is an exercise that preferred to be done in the classroom, not over, of course, a video. But the idea here is that you have two companies. You own one, and you're trying to merge with another company. So you own a construction company, and you're trying to merge with a landscaping company. So your company have these departments. So you're purely functional organization. The landscaping company is also functional. So the idea now, when you merge, what type of organization structure would end up with? So that's an exercise to do, but when you merge these, you always think about what is the mission of the company now. I'm merging a construction company with landscaping. And landscaping here, you have architecture. I mean, people that design the landscape of buildings that will be, these landscape will be implemented in projects or built, you can say. So trees will be planted and all these landscape actual work. But these landscape layout should be done by the architecture here. On the other hand, your construction company has bidding estimating, so it's two different focuses here. So I'll leave it up to you to think about which organizational structure. It is an exercise that you can enjoy. Also, one thing to pay attention is there are some overlap between these two companies, the functions of them. So does it worth to split or keep them split or combine maybe some of the functions you have uh, in each before merging? So after merging now you combine these functions. So uh, that's an exercise for you to figure out. In my lectures, I usually do it, or if this is a video lecture, that might be a part of your homework. So now with organization structure, you need to design it and then just release it or make it work. So you just need to set policies so people would know what to do uh, for that. So part of the policies is knowing also the nature of the company here that makes construction is unique. That it is a project-based focus here. So part of the policies is relating the field people with the office people. So you're trying to relate the tasks and have a clear link of dependency and communication lines. So you can think of you have two main type of people: the strategic overall management and the project management, and then there are some dependencies between them. So the contract administration person and the project would need to report to the accounting and financing to track payments. The project cost accounting is also feeding into that. And then other things here, safety management or the safety person on the team, maybe the superintendent or the foreman, would need to report to the safety program manager. Uh, so I'm sure if you had an internship, can see in some way that link. There are people in the office that call always the people on the sites and vice versa. Uh, so you should have someone or something, policy or guideline to say, if you have this problem, call this person in the office. Or hey, you guys in the office, if you have a question about a specific issue in a project, don't call PM, maybe call PE or the project engineer. So uh, these communication should be cleared by uh, the one who have the decision of the organization of the company, which is usually the leadership, the CEO, or the president of the company with their other officers with him or her. Now the policies here also cover the recurring tasks and decision making and situations. Uh, they should be done by the responsibility should be given to people, but still you should have policies to clarify what happens in such repetitive recurring tasks. Uh, so that's done through policies and procedures, operating procedures. So successful companies will have clear operating procedures that they share with their employees, and these are our bylaws, you can say, or our law that will come back and check if someone is violating or doing something that was not supposed to do. Um, so that's an example here, like you can say an outline of operating procedure. And here it's divided by the contract work, project management, documentation, and financial uh, tasks. So, for example, here the contracts. To sign a contract with a customer, you need to have the president sign it, right? That's a policy for this company. That is an example company. Other companies would have the policy say to sign a contract with a customer, a project executive is enough. You just need the signature of a project executive. Uh, for that company example here, now signing a contract with a subcontractor, you don't need the president. You can have any officer sign it. So the vice president can sign it, treasurer can sign it.
Uh, Now, for change orders, you have a corporate officer to do it. Purchase orders, expensive ones, more than 100,000, then you need still the corporate officer. It's a big purchase order, big money ticket, so you need to have these leadership people also aware and uh, giving permission to it. But any purchase order that is less than 100,000, then who does it? It's the PM. So the project manager of that work that requires that purchase order less than 100,000, then you don't need to call the people in the office and get me the signature of the vice president on that. I can do it myself. All right. So these are just a couple, example, and it outlays here that uh, who is responsible for what. That's clarified by the operating procedure. Just notice here that you can see clearly that higher management people have authority responsibilities for things that are major or strategic, while the project managers or the project management team is responsible for things that are repeated on a daily basis almost of the project. Okay, so leadership, more strategic, major decisions. Project are more like a day-to-day type of project decisions. Right, so that's the end of the lecture. We learned about the three main types of organizational structure, functional, divisional, matrix, and we learned about when you form them, what are the different factors to be considered, and the role of setting operating policy to make clear expectation uh, and to communicate also very clearly what is the responsibility of each one, and that should consider the levels of your leadership. The higher leadership is responsible for more strategic decisions, while the people in the lower levels of your organization would be responsible for day-to-day operations. So that's it for the, the the lecture. Thank you so much, and communicate with me over the email if you have uh, questions about the topic here. And take care.